Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer here at our global network. And our show today is the Listening Mentor Show. We're going to be discussing the dynamics of intergenerational relationships. And doing this with me is the star of our show, joining us from London. She's known as the Harley Street stress expert. She helps you bust your stress. And she is our resident therapist here on our platform, giving us all kinds of perspectives from personal to professional to help us understand about our own behavior and human dynamics. Welcome, Caroline Heward, to the show. Hello.
Woo-hoo. Thank you, Jacalyn. Always a pleasure to be here. And what an incredible introduction. Thank you.
You are very welcome. I always enjoy our conversations. And for people who are joining us for the first time, we do not have a script. Caroline has no idea what I'm going to ask her because I have no idea what I'm going to ask her because it's all ebb and flow. So, Caroline, let's get started. I mentioned that you're our resident in-house therapist. You've helped people all over the world. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you can help people who are watching.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, when I first started doing this work, I was in corporate prior to this and always in management. From the very tender age of 19, I was in management and in very stressful environments. And my final corporate career was in marketing and PR, which was hugely and highly stressful. And when my dad passed away, I went into a depression, didn't realize that I was in it. And essentially, when I became aware, which was 6 months later, looked for answers as to what happened to me, because I didn't remember the previous 6 months. I didn't remember conversations. I didn't remember anything that I had done or said. And yet I was still working and still still doing the things that I thought I normally did. And this is what happens when people go into a depression. And when you're stressed, you literally rise out of your body, become disconnected, and go into the mind and into the confines of what you're thinking and analyzing about. And depression is the past. And so I went into all sorts of training and all sorts of courses from the year 2000 to understand what caused my depression and to overcome my anxiety and my stress. And that's what I help people do. And I felt it was important today, of all days, to actually share a little bit about why, because people are actually commenting about the fact that I've just celebrated my 60th birthday and how come I look so good. And I really do put a lot of it down to the fact that I'm now much more connected to myself and I'm happier in my own skin because I'm not in that state of anxiety and depression. And I help people from all over the world now because I'm online. And I had a bit of a challenge with going online because I only wanted to see people face to face. But now, because I'm online, I'm actually accessible to all sorts of people in all sorts of countries from every corner of the globe. And I literally help you identify the root cause, and it moves you into a state of inner peace. And more importantly, it gives you incredible sleep and incredible relationships.
Brilliant, Caroline. Thank you so much. We do have Caroline's contact information. If you happen to be listening on an audio-only platform, you can reach out to Caroline via email at nomorestress@live.co.uk. And you can also call at +44 07523 120 189.
Oh, you've done it better than I would do it.
No, you do it just as well. So, Caroline, we're talking about something that really resonates with me because I live in an area in South Florida where there's all kinds of relationships, people of all ages going out with people of all different ages. And I know when I was growing up, I'm 61, you're 60, so pretty much the same. But here in the States, you typically would stay within your own age range. And when somebody would go outside of that to a much older person or much younger person, there's a lot of comments about that, that this person's after money or that person's after this or that. So when we think about understanding relationships, they're challenging in and of themselves, just any relationship, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because everything that comes up is really, and this is going to go deep, everything is you. So if you are feeling challenged, say if you are feeling insecure in finances or in your relationships, in love, in your intimacy, that will show up in the people, certainly in your personal relationships. It will show up as other people being in fear of their intimacy and their relationships, their self-love, their self-confidence. And so I do believe that, it's about working on your personal self. So if you're feeling confident and feeling whole, you will then attract another whole person. And so I always think of it as feedback. If somebody's looking at in a relationship with you and they're offering lots of lack of confidence and low self-esteem and say intimacy issues, there will be a reflection of something that's going on for you. And that's an internal thing for you to look at, which can change your external world.
Thank you, Caroline. Excellent points as always. Now, when we're thinking about putting ourselves out there to meet someone, many times we'll have the proverbial list. No, yes, possibly. And then, of course, when we meet the person, we see them, and many times, and you and I have talked about this before, but all right, he's okay. I don't like the way he dresses. I'll get him to change this. And he thinks I'll get her to change that. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of expectations about change. I don't know where they came from. So if you think about going with a younger person and an older person from different generations and different ideals and like different kinds of music and have different belief system, that makes it more challenging, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, when I did get married in 2000, I actually married somebody that was 12 years older than me at the time. And I was very much into the disco-y age and the new romantics, and very much in the 80s. And that gap of over a decade meant that he was into much more, sort of like Deep Purple and Jimi Hendrix and Floyd and all the things that, sort of were really quite alien to me. And that was also probably quite a man thing as well, that I was into that poppy kind of stuff. And it really separated us in terms of what we wanted to listen to. And I do remember that he used to like listening to a station called Magic, which was very much of the 60s and 70s music, much earlier 70s. And I was used to think it was really old, and I used to switch it to hard because I wanted to listen to the more upbeat and up-to-date music. So we'd have this dilemma of, sort of switching the station of what was powerfully interesting for me and what was interesting for him were different. And so music can be a real divide, and it can also bring you together. Because I actually turned him onto ABBA and moved him into looking at other music because I was really into it and playing it and going to concerts. So it does depend on how much you can come together on your topics, especially music, because it starts to date you. And at the very same token, I've met a lot of very young people that are into the 70s, late 70s and early 80s music. And they're actually saying that it was better music than what there is today. So I do feel that there's a lot of the music that I grew up with coming back. And there is a huge generation that are now listening to ABBA that didn't even hear it in our generation. They weren't even thought of, or a twinkle in their daddy's eye. And yet they're being exposed to music of time ago. So it really just depends how open you can be and how interested you are to find out more about the person you're with.
Yeah, I love the fact that you said about how much interest you have in that person and where can you come together. Now, something else I want to look at is where I live here in South Florida and other places in the world. I would be competing against people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And obviously, a 61-year-old person and somebody in a different generation are going to have different interests and maybe even different levels of tolerance. And what I mean by that is that maybe at my age, I'm going to be less tolerant of certain behaviors than somebody who's younger. And at the same time, somebody who's younger might be more demanding because they're looking for something that maybe they haven't found in themselves. I'm just generalizing. So, what generalities can you share with our audience when it comes to one person being much older and the other one being much younger and they're in a relationship?
Some interesting points that you've made there, Dr. Jacalyn. And it is, I was speaking to a couple of friends over these past few weekends and meeting up with friends, and they were actually sharing conversations in terms of when they've been dealing with other co-workers and saying different things that, sort of what would be normal for somebody of our age, for instance, that we kind of went to work and we worked hard and we'd work all the hours and we'd be seen to be working. The generation that's coming into the workplace now work a much shorter day and don't feel the need to put in all that long hours, and so that they like to come in at 10 o'clock and they're on their social media. So there is a different impetus in terms of what they want from a workplace and want from their work in terms of their occupation. And many of them are looking for work-life balance. And I do believe that the reason for that is that they've seen their family, their parents, their peers of who they've grown up with in terms of their parents and their aunts and uncles work really hard and not actually see the benefits of it and see their health deteriorating. And so they're much more now, the generation that are going into work now are much more a generation that are looking for work-life balance. They're looking, sort of to do a gym session in the morning before they go to work, or hop off work earlier to go to a gym session. And so I feel that their priorities are different. And they're using a different language as well, because they are not looking just for work, work, work. They're looking for work, pleasure, fun. And dating is an entirely different subject matter, which I think I'll bring into the next conversation.
Yes, that is definitely something else we want to explore. And I think you just touched on something about health. Health is so much, it's the crux of everything. And if we think about it as we get older, things start happening. If we don't have a healthy lifestyle, for example, there's all different reasons. So there's also energy level. When we're younger, we typically have more energy. I mean, I feel myself that I have more energy than some 20-year-olds. So we can't really generalize in that regard. But how important are your genetics, your health, and your energy level, if you put it all under a lifestyle, to two people coming together and they're from different generations?
Well, my mum always says to me, she frequently says, I can't do what I used to be able to do. And I also had a brief conversation with one of my friends that I've known for over 30 years by a messenger. And he actually said, he reminded me of a conversation that we had because he was a few years older than me. And I said to him, what's it like being 33? So I think I was very cheeky back then. I must have been 30. And he said, well, it's not much different to being 30. And now he's like sort of now 30 years on, he said, you know, how do you feel? And my answer to that question is that I still have the go-getting that I used to have. And I actually have the wisdom. And now I'm choosing to do things that are much more appealing to me and will give me a greater inner presence and an inner power than I'm doing in terms of what I felt that I needed to do or had to do when I was younger. I was very much push to be in that corporate lifestyle. But now I don't feel that the push is in the same way because it's about helping others. You know, my focus has completely changed. It's gone inward to come outward. And I just feel, yes, I perhaps, you know, can't do as much as I used to do. And at the same time, I can dance, you know, for sort of a marathon dancing for like 3-4 hours or maybe, you know, 6 hours at a time. And I used to do that then. I just didn't get the opportunities as often to dance in that many hours. So I think it's about, if you're doing something you love and you enjoy, you seem to always find the energy for it. And that's something that I've learned. And if you're not loving what you're doing, you lack the energy and the motivation to do what you're doing.
Here, here. I definitely agree with you. Let's move into the dating realm. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, when we're looking for someone, you and I are both single, and you know, sometimes you have the list. And on the list, I'm just saying to you personally, do you have a certain age of someone you're looking for?
Well, I'm going to be very honest and tongue-in-cheek. The average guy that chats me up is in his late 20s to mid-30s. That makes life very interesting for me. And that's being really, really honest. And when I tell them, because I'm not hiding my age, when I tell them, they're really shocked. I can't believe my age. And then they kind of say things like, well, you're really hot for your age. so it brings in something else. And, you know, I mean, we're laughing now and we're having a little bit of fun. And it is fun. And it's kind of a huge confidence booster for me. And it's fun because I obviously interact energetically with young people. And I feel that, you know, there's this saying, young at heart. And one of my mentees that's actually become a very lovely friend, she's actually now 30. And she considers me the same age as her, as herself. And she doesn't see that I'm like sort of almost, you know, double her age now. And I really do feel that age is a state of mind and a state of beingness. And I used to think that 30 was really old. And so now I'm double that age. I find it really challenging that I don't feel old, and yet I'm really connecting with quite young people. And so I would just say, you know, and I did always have this thing about being with younger people, maybe because I had that energy of a student and always studied, and I still am studying. And I just feel that now I think that perhaps late 30s maybe, or, you know, sort of mid 40s maybe, but, you know, sort of I'm not hooked on the age particularly. It's about the person, and it's about their beingness and their kindness and the way that they are. And so I could never be in an online situation where I'd swipe left or swipe right. I don't really, you know, I don't think I could do that online thing, because for me, it's not just about appearance. it's about the beingness of the person. It's about the way that they live and the way that they honor themselves and other people. And it's, I feel it's an inside job that shows up on the outside. So I tend to meet people when I go dancing, when I go chanting to my chanting concerts, when I'm in meditation, and, and obviously online. I've had quite a few people come out and, chat to me and say, God, you're never that old. And they're actually been chatting to me in private chat in the last few days, saying that they just can't believe it, and how come I'm single. And so I do feel that it's important to recognize we are quite an ageist society, that it's not about age. It's about how we feel inside and how we're showing up and being for ourselves and others.
So what I'm taking away from what you just shared, and thank you for your transparency, is you like a younger guy. You want somebody who's younger, and that's okay.
Well,
what
that tends
about
to be the way it is.
Yeah, and they're attracted to you, which is great. Something that's really important to me is to feel safe. And I don't know what safe actually means or looks like definitively, but it's that feeling that when you're with someone that you're safe, that they have your back, and that they're supporting you, and that they're going to be there for you. Do you think that feeling of safety really is resonated to or aligned with someone who's older and more experienced? Or we're just generalizing.
In general terms, I don't really think, I think when we're putting it down to age, now I am the age that I am. I think I was probably quite foolhardy and shallow when I was younger. so and I was a flutterby, I'd socialize as a bit of a flutterby. I never really get into meaningful conversations because I didn't probably know how, but I was very popular. And now I tend to find that it's nicer to have maybe less conversations and have a deeper connection, because I have a much more fulfilling time, and so does the other person. So I don't really feel that, I tend to find that when I talk to very young people, they have the wisdom now of perhaps somebody that I am being now in the last couple of decades than perhaps I was when I was younger. So I don't feel it's about age. It's about who we're being and how we're showing up as a person. And, you can be 60 and actually be quite maturely old for your age and be sort of not doing very much. And the people that I tend to hang around with, there's a lot of people that are doing things and they're doing extra hobbies that keep them active. They're doing theatre things and they're on stage and they have interesting lives. So it's about who you're being in terms of how you show up in your life. And if you're a couch potato, you're not actually going to be very interesting for yourself or for others. And for me, I feel that the ages, it's now, I feel that I'm seeing that there's not much, difference between the ages of young and old. It's how we show up and how we live. And we can be young and be a couch potato, as well as middle-aged and older being a couch potato. So there is no age there. It just depends on what our life choices are. And I'm certainly seeing young people as well as much more mature and older than me that are living a very fulfilling lifestyle and dancing and meditating and doing all sorts of things. So I do believe it's about the choices that you make and the things that you do in your spare time and what interests you. And I've always done very interesting things in my spare time.
It's hard to keep up with you. You need rollerblades. So now what you were just sharing, younger men are interested in you. What about the opposite, where an older man is interested in a younger woman? How can those dynamics be helpful and how can they be hindering?
Well, it works, because I actually married an older man and thought it was, great, because when I was young, I wanted to be with an older man, and now I'm older. It seems to have reversed. So I think that when it's the same reason, I believe, that some men that are older are looking and attracted to younger people, because they have more going than they have things going on in their life. They haven't become that couch potato and just died at 50 or 60 years old. They are doing things and they're active. And there's many people that may be in their 70s and 80s that aren't active. And so, you know, my mum consistently says, I want to stay active because otherwise I will just wither up. You know, I want to keep doing things. And I think it's a really great statement. And my mum's in her 80s and she's always out there, and, you know, she's always making that extra effort. She also cares for other people as well. And I just feel that keeps my mum quite young. And, you know, she often gets people saying to her that she doesn't look her age either. I had a few friends on the weekend said it must be your genes, you know. And I do feel it's about, you know, sort of younger, older. I just feel that this society is quite ageist, and it shouldn't be about age. It should be about compatibility. Do I enjoy being with this person? Do I enjoy their company? And do I enjoy sitting with them, dining out with them? And do I enjoy talking to them? And it's from that place, if there's common ground, then does it matter what age they are? I can speak to 21-year-olds and we'll have a great conversation. And I can speak to 70 and 80-year-olds and have a great conversation. So I think that we seem to be in a society that is ageist, which is why I'm always loud and proud about my age, because it defies all logic through the generations.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm super excited that you're sharing this perspective today. Now, if you think about it, with A-list celebrities, at least here in the States, and obviously it's a global world, so A-list celebrities go all around the world and do what they do. When we typically would see a much younger man with an older woman or vice versa, people have something to say about it. Oh, she's just after his money, or he's just after her body, or he's trying to find youth again, instead of saying, well, they obviously have things in common and that's what brings them together. But there's still that judgmental perspective when you see someone who's maybe 20, 30, 40 years in difference in age than the other person.
I totally agree with you. And I just feel that sometimes we're so boring in our own lives that we want to like go and meddle in someone else's. You know, I just think leave them alone, you know, if they're happy and they're together. And maybe there is ulterior motives, but so what? You know, it's like, so we haven't got anything better to do than to go like sort of commenting about somebody else's life. If they've got married and there's 30, 40 years difference, well, good luck to them.
Exactly.
It's like, when did we get so caught up in somebody else's choices? It's because we're in this society that our lives are quite mundane and maybe boring, and so we've got so involved in celebrities' lives, and really, you know, they're people as well at the end of the day. And I just feel that sometimes it's important to remember that. And when I was hanging out with celebrities and people of, you know, sort of very famous people, one person told me, you know, to remember, you know, that they're human. And just imagine them, you know, going to the toilet, that they still have to go to the toilet. And it made me stop going, ooh, you know, sort of gaga at them. And it made me realize that they are still people at the end of the day. They're not sort of on such a high pedestal that they don't have feelings and emotions. And I think that it's important to remember that, you know, sort of just because they're showing up and they're on stage and their lives are on show, what gives us the right to comment and tell them that they shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that? You know, it's important for us all to live our lives the way that we choose. You know, I choose to meditate and chant and dance, although I'm having to make some different choices in terms of dancing and chanting at 2 a.m. because I've woken up my neighbors. But, you know, I don't feel that, you know, if we're making choices, that we're making our own choices because we're happy to do those things, and not because we're looking for approval. And certainly I was asked out by a really, really lovely, beautiful guy before my baby brother died in 2016. And then I looked at his profile, and he had a big public profile. And I saw him at at a Valentine's gathering. It was a meditation evening for Valentine's. And I looked at his profile and he looked at mine, and I realized that I was older than his mum. And I started to feel, a bit anxious about that, because I felt that it was important, because I didn't want to be judged. And this was about 2016. And I made this comment saying, I'm older than your mum. And I felt very uncomfortable. And after my baby brother died in 2018, I realized that I made a big mistake, that I was actually worried about what people might think. And then I just tore my rule book up and said, what does it matter what people think? What matters is what makes you happy. And so I've learned differently from that. And I feel that it was a huge wisdom that I gained from, I had a huge loss at that point, and that person has become a very dear friend. And so it's about choices and not thinking about what other people are going to say about your choices.
Absolutely. It's between you and the other person. And something else I think is important is that many times people have a spoken or unspoken agreement. And maybe he's saying, you know what, or she's saying, yes, I am financially well off and I'm happy to spend some money on you in exchange for you being on my arm, or whatever the case may be, and vice versa. And if people have that kind of arrangement, then who's to say anybody should comment on it at all?
Well, I quite agree. And, I don't know of couples like that. There certainly is in the celebrity world couples like that. And I've been a trophy girlfriend all my life, right from the age of 14, I was a trophy girlfriend, and didn't really understand why that was, but I had friends tell me that, you're just the trophy girlfriend, because I always had a very good looking guy on my arm, and they considered I was a good looking girl on their arm. And I just was known for that. And it wasn't that I deliberately set out, that was just the way that it became. And I think that when you do have that title, or that, sort of that situation, sometimes it's a bit lonely, because you are the trophy and nothing else. You're the adornment. And it wasn't substantial for me. So I've gone past that, and look for the deeper person now. And I was always very attracted to people that were really good looking, because that's kind of what we do, isn't it? And when it didn't work, and I realized that there were what do they call them, players, when they kind of had lots of girls, I would then become friends with them. But it's sort of, I got to know a lot of men, and I was good friends with them, because I realized it wasn't good to be in relationships with them, because they probably weren't very nice to the girls. But that meant that I could be friends with anybody, because I had personality and looks. And I wasn't in a hurry to be somebody's girlfriend. But when I was the trophy girlfriend. So I have been in that space, and I even married in that space. And I actually enjoy being single and just doing my own thing, and not having to be an adornment. And at the same time, being happy to be my true self, rather than trying to be something that I'm not.
Thank you, Caroline. Excellent point. So, for people out there who are looking to meet someone, it sounds to me from what you and I are discussing that they can actually expand the list. If you look at that list, that age doesn't have to even be on there. It's just how the person feels with the other person. And Philip Sykes, who is one of our team members here, I forget the exact phrase, but it's how people make you feel. And if you're with someone and they make you feel like you're a princess, you're a queen, you're a star, you're, whatever it might be, that's a wonderful feeling. And does that matter if the person's 10 years older than you, or 10 years younger than you, or even more?
Absolutely. I'm in total agreement with you. It doesn't matter. And that how you feel is an incredible point. And when in today's society, we have all these online things. I've never been on an online app, but, sort of I'm hearing, on TV programs that it's swipe left or swipe right. And then we've become quite a society that's based on looks, what we look like. And I feel very uncomfortable about kind of going online, because then you are put into an age bracket, And that sort of, feels quite false to me, because I never have a problem when I'm with, sort of in my social gatherings and with other people, connecting and chatting with other people, right across the board in terms of ages. I do feel the online thing is very much focused on what you look like and your status, instead of how do you feel with them. And it's almost like you're buying, I don't know, a loaf of bread or a sack of potatoes. It's become almost like people are commodities. And I feel that that's not a good place to be. We should be open to, just like our normal, when I grew up, it was normal dating. And if somebody made you laugh, then you would, have a conversation with them, and you would spend a bit more time with them. And I feel that bit's lost. And Philip Sykes is absolutely right in terms of how they make you feel. But on social media and in these apps, it's what they look like. And are you attracted to their looks, or are you attracted to their age or their money, if that comes up first of all? So it's important to understand what it is that you want, and how to get what you're looking for.
Very true. I just want to weigh in on that and what you just said, in that I feel at this age, it's actually better for me to be more attractive than the man. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're with a guy who's really good looking and he thinks he's really good looking and everybody's looking at him, then maybe he's not going to be looking at me. So I'm not as much about looks as I used to be. It's about how I feel when I'm with the person. So obviously I'm still searching, looking.
It's a good point. And looks used to be really, really integral to me. I didn't have any problem because I always attracted really good looking men. Now it's less so. Now I'm less needing him to be fantastic looking. And it's more important that he's a bit more fuller and wholer as a person. And like he's sort of done some work on himself. He's done some spiritual or personal involvement work on himself. So he's not like sort of kind of cantankerous and a moaner and complainer, that he's actually got some responsibility for himself. So somebody who's done some consciousness work, and they don't have to do the kind of work that I've done, even if they're into martial arts, or, sort of people that have done more than just their school, is always interesting. And from my perspective, I think it's important to acknowledge the differences and welcome those differences, rather than I'm not looking for somebody that's the same. And I think that's important to know. And I'm always attracted, it's quite funny, opposites attract. And what happens is, even for clients and for friendships, girl friendships and men friendships, I'm very kind of up here and, sort of very bit airy fairy and dancey and, meditation. And I always seem to meet and become very connected with people that are much more left-brained, much more like sort of engineering, accountants, bankers, solicitors. And I always find it really amusing. And I think it must be, that's the bit that balances me, that they are much more logical. But that's where it becomes balanced in terms of the yin and the yang. And I always find it amusing, because I want to be a bit like that. And at the same time, I love how I'm being, and I'm attracting those types of people because I used to be like that. And now I'm not anymore. And now I'm actually more connected. And a lot of these people are a little disconnected and very much more in the mind. And so I attract those kinds of people because I used to be like that and want to still have all those researchical stats type things and be that more logical person. But I love the weather. I'm a bit airy fairy and, sort of do my thing. And I feel that that's the thing that tends to bind, because that's the bendy bit I used to be, but that's the bit that bends and makes it work.
So many fabulous points that were brought up today, Caroline. I think one thing that really stands out for me as well is that when we continue to work on ourselves, it makes us more interesting. And curiosity that we have, I think that's really an endearment, and as opposed to someone who's stagnant and set in their ways, and they're not really interested in learning about new things. Or when you talk about airy fairy, there are people who are very closed off. They don't want to hear about it. But for people who are interested, oh, wow, this is what makes you shine, makes you sing. And the same thing for me, because most people are not interested. Most people that I meet are closed off. As soon as I say what it is I do for a living, there's not even a question. I'm thinking, how many people do you know that started a television network? I don't know. Like, there's not even a single question. It just goes right on to the weather or something. So I love when people ask questions because they're interested. And I love when people are curious. And I think also what I'm taking away from the show is it doesn't matter about age. It matters about how you feel when you're with the person, how they make you feel, and then what that time that you have together is. And whatever the understanding is that the two of you have, it's no one else's business. You don't have to explain it to anyone. And when we really feel complete and whole ourselves, we don't have to be looking through windows or peering around to see what other people are doing because we're engrossed in our own lives.
Some extremely incredible and valid points, and I'd like to add one thing onto that, which reminded me as you were going through that list, and I was thinking, oh yes, there was something that I learned a long time ago, and it was when you are completely okay with yourself, when you are being yourself and beaming your light, what happens is that people attract to you. You become a radiator, and people are they're attracted to you. If you are beaming and shining in your own pot of gold, then other people will come to you. And sometimes I would go to networking events, or I'd be at a conference, and I would just stand up from my chair and people would just come, and I couldn't move because people would just come to me. And that's the attraction, that's the energetic attraction. And in a different way, when people are not comfortable and they're not shining their light and they're not being comfortable in themselves and being true to themselves, they tend to deflect light. So people will be detracted, so literally moving away from you. And it's very like a magnet because everything is energy. And so if we believe that everything's energy, it's vibration. And the vibration that you're vibrating at will attract people to you or repel people. And so if you're repelling people, look at who you're repelling. And if people are leaving your space, it's because your vibration is in a different space. I used to get very upset when I lost friends, when they said that, you've moved on or I've moved on. But actually, it's just that there's a disconnect and the energy frequency has changed. There's no wrong or right in that. There's just frequency, and we are all vibration. E, energy, equals MC squared, and we are all frequency. And if we're vibrating at a low frequency and in anger and in frustration and in worry and anxiety, we will then be vibrating much lower than somebody that's in heart consciousness and in a space of compassion, kindness, gratitude. And so if you are in that complaining space, you'll miss those people that are vibrating in the space of compassion and love and gratitude. So my tip here is to elevate your own state of inner being by being in a state of gratitude, and who knows who might walk into your life.
Woohoo! I love that, Caroline. So everybody who's out there, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your heart open, and just see who you resonate with. It doesn't matter what the age is. Caroline, another fabulous episode. How do people reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. I can't believe we're at the end of our show. Wow, that went really quickly. And it's important for me to say this show is completely unscripted. I had no idea, and I'm just there without a text, without any information at all. I'm just here giving everything that's coming from inside. And that's because of my training. So I help people bust their stress. And I'm not just saying it, I'm living and breathing what I do. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or call, if you're international, +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. I have an incredible, silly priced offer at the moment where I'm offering 1 hour as a consultation over the phone or WhatsApp, or it's an audio consultation, and that's for £50. That's 50 English pounds, which is an incredible, silly price, and you will feel really, really relaxed, highly energized, will break through 3 to 4 symptoms of the root cause, and you will have incredible sleep. And I look forward to breaking through the patterns that create your stress. And I look forward to you having a much more peaceful life. Keep watching all the videos. I have tons to share. There's always things that I share. So keep in touch with USA Global TV and Radio. I'm on here every week, and there is tons of really top quality information that Dr. Jacalyn and myself share.
Thank you so much, Caroline. That is so true. We do have a comment from someone on LinkedIn, Adrian Leonard Canning. Love can save the world. Beautiful.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian. All right, Caroline, we'll see you again next week.
Super duper. Take care. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Bye-bye. I just wanted to share with you, as Caroline mentioned, this show is, all of our shows are completely and totally unscripted. In fact, we have a show coming up in a couple of weeks, and the guest reached out and said, can you send me the questions so I can prepare? And I wrote back, no, I cannot send the questions because I don't know what they're going to be. I really spend my time listening, and so does Caroline. And so what I want to share with you is, I know that there are millions of podcasts and shows that are out there. Not everyone can do what Caroline does. And that's because she's an expert and she's invested the time in learning the technology and in learning her trade. And so if you are a guest on a podcast, this is a live broadcast, so there's a difference. There's no editing. It's out there forever. Think about how you're showing up in the world. And if you're finding that you need a script, that you need questions in advance, ask yourself what's coming up for you that you need to know what you're going to be asked. Because when you really know what it is you're passionate about, and you know your trade, and you know what it is that you do for a living, somebody can ask you anything and you'll know because you already have the information inside. So what we work on here also is listening skills, and then having the confidence that you need to be able to project yourself to the world. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, I actually coach people on how to show up at your highest level when you're broadcasting or when you're going to be interviewing. Reach out to me directly. My contact information is there. And we're going to sign off for now. Please do join us again next week. We've got around 80 shows a month now. So that might even be low, but we've got a lot of programs. There's something for everyone. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time. And now presenting the British School of Excellence and Mr. Philip Sykes. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you. This program has been brought to you in part by Zane Carson Carruth, etiquette and protocol expert, international award-winning author, television show host, and philanthropist. Thank you to Zane, our official diamond sponsor for USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with E360 TV. Zane is the author of the world's first tooth fairy ever, as well as many other children's books. She's also the television host of Elegance, Polished Demeanor, and Posh Living, seen on USA Global TV and Radio.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
To learn more about Zane, contact her through her website, zanecarruth.com, ZANECARRUTH.com. Order Zane's books and merchandise. Contact her about being a keynote speaker at your next event.